So let's talk about a dream. A dream for what the internet could be. A place that was really built on music, on real ownership, and on community. We're going to explore the incredible rise and the kind of painful fall of that dream, all through the eyes of a music pioneer who really thought he saw the future. Until, well, maybe he didn't.
I mean, just think about that question for a second. It's so powerful because it's the exact opposite of how we use the internet now, right? We just rent space on platforms that other people own. But what if you could actually truly own your little slice of the digital world? A spot where you could build whatever you want, create, connect with people, and never have to ask for permission. That was the huge, radical promise behind platforms like crypto voxels.
And that promise really grabbed people like Idris Busari. He's the founder of the Afrobeats label Rescue Records. And for him, this felt like history repeating itself. He saw how music went from cassettes to CDs, and he was convinced that blockchain and Web3 were that next big jump, a way to get ahead of the curve and give artists a direct line to their fans and their careers.
Okay, so that brings us to our first chapter, this explosion of hope and optimism. This wasn't just about some new tech. For the people on the ground floor, it really felt like they were building a brand new world from the ground up.
And the town at the center of this new frontier was crypto voxels. The easiest way to think about it is like a virtual world you could hop into straight from your web browser. No complicated downloads. It was built on the Ethereum blockchain, which basically meant you could buy a piece of virtual land as an NFT, a unique digital deed, and then build literally anything you could imagine on it, kind of like Minecraft.
The appeal here was just this perfect storm of incredible ideas. First, you had true digital ownership, not just renting your profile. Then, you had total creative freedom, no big company telling you what you could or couldn't build. And, so importantly, it was super accessible. Anyone with a browser could get in. For artists, this was a potential game changer. It was a whole new way to make a living and connect with fans on their own terms.
And for a little while, that promise wasn't just a promise. It exploded into this super vibrant reality. This was the voxel party boom. It was a time when these digital worlds felt absolutely electric, just buzzing with energy and pure possibility.
Man, that period between 2022 and 2023 was just a blur of activity. It felt like every single week there was another can't-miss event popping up. We're talking music video festivals, virtual rooftop parties, huge label launches. It was just this golden age of nonstop community-led celebration.
And this is a perfect example of the kinds of amazing cultural hubs that just popped up out of nowhere. You had places like the Afrodroids Lab, run by DJ Shark Anthony. These weren't just venues, they were whole movements. They'd host these insane, non-stop parties that mixed incredible music, Afrofuturist art, and they even raised money for charity. It was a living, breathing ecosystem.
And you can just feel the energy in a quote like this, right? This wasn't just a bunch of people staring at their computers. It was a real social scene. People felt the genuine connection. The vibe was real. And yeah, it was absolutely jumping.
The numbers really back that up too. When Rescue Records launched its virtual headquarters, more than 100 people showed up. Now think about that. For an independent labels party in a totally new virtual world, that's huge. It was a mix of the dedicated users, the Voxelians, and just curious anonymous people who were all drawn in by the buzz.
But you know how these things go. Just as fast as the party got started, the music, it started to fade. This amazing community was on a collision course with the perfect storm. A massive market crash, and some really deep internal problems.
Yeah, the biggest hit was the crypto market crash in 2022. It just wiped people out and made the public really skeptical. That, plus this general feeling of metaverse fatigue that was going around, meant way fewer people were showing up. And that virtual land that had been so valuable, its price just fell through the floor.
And this slide really shows the tough contrast between the dream and what actually happened. The dream was this decentralized paradise open to everyone. But the reality? Well, it turned out that a tiny group of super wealthy users, the whales, ended up owning over half of all the land. It's this classic problem, right? When you have no central rules, the people with the most money can often just buy up all the power, and you end up recreating the exact same system you were trying to escape.
This quote from our guy Idris Busari just captures that mood shift perfectly. After all that time building and celebrating, he looked around near the end of 2024 and basically said, "The emperor has no clothes." The hype was gone. It was this moment of clarity that a lot of people in the community were feeling, that the big, beautiful vision had kind of lost its way.
And then the crisis hit home.
The founder, Ben Nolan, announced he was stepping down. He was just completely burned out after 8 years of work. And get this, the platform was costing about $1 million a year just to keep running. For a project that was so proud of not taking venture capital money, that was just totally unsustainable.
So where does all of this leave us? Well, in this last part, let's look at the legacy of this incredible experiment. What did we learn, and what could the future possibly hold, not just for voxels, but for this whole idea of owning our digital lives?
So what happened to all the key players? Well, the founder, Ben Nolan, he's looking for the community to take over the whole project. DJ Shark Anthony, he's moved into a broader Web3 content creator role. Artists like Serena Ellis are taking what they learned and trying it on other platforms, and Resk Records, they're still pushing forward, still experimenting with NFTs. So the dream didn't really die, you know? It just spattered, with all these pioneers taking their lessons and applying them somewhere else. So when you boil it all down, what's the real legacy here? Well, first, CryptoVoxels proved that a simple, browser-based metaverse could actually work, and people would come. It was an amazing sandbox for artists to try out new things, but it was also a really harsh lesson in the real-world problems of decentralization, from the economics of it all to just plain human burnout. And maybe most importantly, it forced us all to have a really serious conversation about what digital ownership even means. Which leaves us with this final, massive question. This whole story is about the tension between these grassroots, community-built worlds and the huge power of money and speculation. So as we think about what's next, we have to ask ourselves, is the next version of the internet going to be built by the pioneers? Is it going to be bought by the whales? Or is it going to have to be something else entirely?